An integral part of the Centre Block Rehabilitation project is protecting and preserving more than 20,000 heritage assets. Irreplaceable works that include paintings, murals, stained glass windows, sculptures, and woodwork. Many of these heritage assets have been carefully removed from the building and stored for safekeeping. The majority are undergoing restoration work. Some items cannot be removed from the building and must remain. They have all been protected. There's a delicate balance between restoration and the need to modernize. Kate Westbury is the heritage lead for the Centre Block project. She oversees the conservation and heritage teams.
Initially, the role of the heritage team is one of very much in the driver's seat. So what we saw in the early stages of the project was removal of all of the fragile assets from the building. Anything that's very straightforward, such as stained glass, heritage light fixtures, anything that could fairly easily be removed is done first. And that clears it out of the way and allows other construction activities to take place on site.
Decisions to remove or protect are taken on a case-by-case basis. And in some instances, the risks in removing heritage materials can be greater than leaving them in place.
This is the ceiling of the Senate chamber here at Centre Block. It's plaster substrate, and it was brought in and installed post-fabrication and then finished on site. The stenciling that you see here has quite a few Tudor rose motifs, and those are a lovely nod to our English heritage. We also have other motifs and medallions that you can see from the Senate floor, which include motifs such as the Irish harp, the lion, which is simple, the passant from the English throne. So all of these harken back to our connections with the British Commonwealth and the British parliamentary system. Over 170,000 sheets of gold leaf were used to gild this ceiling. It's a treasure here at Centre Block. It's fortunately in very good condition. We've had it assessed by our architectural paint specialists, and they agreed that protecting in place was the right approach. Obviously, removing something like this could be quite harmful and invasive. And so we have essentially set up a very rigorous monitoring program for assets like this ceiling to ensure that we catch any issues early and remediate those right away.
For nearly 100 years, two massive chandeliers have hung from this gold-coffered ceiling. The fixtures are made of bronze, cast iron, aluminum, and white-flashed opal glass.
The chandeliers in this space are the two largest light fixtures that we have at Centre Block. They were cast bronze and incredibly large, weighing over 3,400 pounds, and required a lot of strategic thinking when removing them for their safekeeping. So we had to produce a pulley system, get engineers involved to make sure that we could remove the fixtures safely, as well as not harm the building in doing so. So what made those light fixtures particularly unique is that they have one piece that's cast that obviously needs to stay intact, and that large piece is the majority of its weight, and so that was quite challenging. Those light fixtures are arguably the most beautiful light fixtures in Canada. So they've been removed. Right now they are currently in storage, crated and safely in storage, and we are actually working on their conservation and treatment plans as we speak. They will end up going to a lighting specialist where they will be treated and rehabilitated, and then slightly modified to meet our lighting requirements of 2023, and then they will be reinstated here. We'll have to go through that logistically challenging process again backwards.
Another challenge conservators face is removing murals that have adorned the walls of this committee room for nearly a century.
That room originally was the House of Commons reading room, and as such, the design motifs in that space reflected the media and the printed word and journalism. And so as a result, we have a really beautiful collection of Arthur Crisp murals that reflect that, which is quite nice. And they're miroflage murals, which essentially is a painted canvas that's been applied by adhesive to the wall, which made its removal possible. If it was painted directly onto plaster, for example, it would be far more complex. So we have agreed conservation from a local fine art conservation company who came in and they removed those works of art quite painstakingly, scraped gently to remove each piece and rolled them up. Then what ends up having to happen is all of the skim coat that's still stuck to the reverse of those has to be removed in order to safely roll them and then put those either in storage or take them off to a conservation lab for treatment. So quite an onerous process.
Here, in the office of the Leader of the Opposition, another arduous procedure is taking place: the removal of century-old frescoes. These were painted by Italian artist Attilio Pusterla in 1920.
The frescoes in the space are designed to reflect certain ideals of what a leader of the opposition should do. So they're things about justice and virtue and making sure that you're holding to the truth. William Lyon Mackenzie King was leader of the opposition at the time that the building was being designed, and he actually worked very closely with Pearson on the designs and things that he wanted to incorporate into the frescoes.
This face of an angel appearing to a knight is believed to be based on King's late mother. He chose to stay in this room when he went from opposition leader to prime minister in 1921.
Fresco is a kind of painting where the paint is applied to wet plaster, so when the paint dries, it fuses with the plaster and becomes part of the wall. So in order to restore those pieces, they had to be physically removed from the space. So just as the wood paneling creates a sort of piece of furniture in the space, those elements also have a specific place, and they have to be very carefully removed so that they can be very carefully put back into the original spaces.
Once conservation treatment is complete, the frescoes will remain in storage until they can safely return to Centre Block.